I gazed out through the frosted window, observing the final hues of sunset shimmering across the towering 20-foot snow sculpture that stared directly into Lisa's window. She hadn't lifted her blinds in 3 days, not since she awoke to find her own likeness sculpted in precise, icy detail, clipboard in hand, her brows eternally furrowed in judgment. My daughter, Emily, chuckled as she added the finishing touches to the snow base, etching Lisa's name in bold, block letters beneath the figure's boots. This wasn't vandalism or graffiti, it was art. To Lisa, however, it was a declaration of war. If she wanted to fight over snow, she should have chosen an opponent less resolute than me. A father doesn't build snow dragons with his daughter without standing his ground, and Lisa was about to learn that lesson. Just 3 weeks prior, this conflict hadn't existed. Winter had only just settled into our quiet suburban neighborhood, a grid of identical beige houses framed by matching white fences, where conformity outweighed joy or indie vy duality. I had recently moved here with Emily after my divorce, seeking to vy to her with stability. Our small front yard, a snow-dusted patch of earth, became our creative haven every December. It began as a simple tradition. After mugs of hot cocoa each weekend, we'd bundle up, grab gloves and shovels, and craft something magical in the snow. First a castle, then a unicorn, and this year, her favorite, a snow dragon with curling icy wings and icicle fangs. It took us 3 hours, and the result exceeded our expectations. Neighbors strolled by, offering smiles, some paused to praise it. Then Lisa appeared. She strode across the street like a commander surveying enemy lines, clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, her lips pressed into a thin line of restrained disapproval. I was kneeling near the dragon's tail, brushing off loose snow, when she cleared her throat sharply. Standing, I wiped snow from my gloves as she pointed at the sculpture without a hint of warmth or introduction. "That's not permitted," she declared. I blinked, assuming it was a jest. "It's just a snow dragon," I replied. Her eyes narrowed. "It's an unauthorized structural alteration. It disrupts the community's visual aesthetic and could pose issues." I chuckled. She didn't. She scribbled something on her clipboard and marched off without another word. That evening, a letter was taped to my door, official HOA stationery, written with the GRAVY tie of a legal summons over a mere pile of snow. I'd been warned for seasonal decorative nonconformance and ordered to dismantle the snow structure within 24 hours. I crumpled the paper, glanced at Emily's drawing of the dragon on our fridge, and felt a surge of defiance. This wasn't illegal, it was snow, it would melt. But to Lisa, it was about control. I told Emily we'd leave it standing, letting the sun handle its removal. That choice would cost me. 2 days later, a DULA 200 fine arrived, same letterhead, same curt tone. Failure to comply with HOA regulations regarding seasonal decorative conformity. They'd included a photo of the dragon, circled in red marker with annotations, as if I'd erected a fortress. I was stunned. DULA 200 for snow? I called the HOA office, and Lisa answered, naturally. "Your structure remains in violation," she said crisply. "You were notified. Continued defiance will lead to further action." I tried explaining it was a father-daughter project. She cut me off. "This isn't about sentiment, it's about standards." Then she hung up. Standing outside, staring at the dragon's slightly melted snout, I realized it no longer felt whimsical. It marked the start of something larger, a clash deeper than snow. Lisa wasn't just stifling creative tie, she was punishing happiness. A neighbor later revealed that Lisa had ruled the HOA for 6 years, unchallenged. She thrived on issuing citations, once fining a man for overly reflective wind chimes, and maintained a binder of grievances and a spreadsheet of offenses. She didn't seek peace, she craved authority. Unfortunately for her, I'd dealt with her kind before. In my younger days, I'd had a boss just like her, micromanaging, dismissive, wielding power like a prize. Back then, I'd smiled and complied, fearing job loss. But this was my home, and I wouldn't let her intimidate me on my own turf. I began attending HOA meetings, quickly seeing the extent of Lisa's dominion. She presided over them like a judge, silencing questions, brushing off concerns, while the other board members barely uttered a word. When I raised the snow fine, she dismissed it with a wave. "Already reviewed. File a formal objection if you wish, but the decision stands." I looked around, no one backed me, at least not openly. Yet outside those walls, whispers grew. Neighbors approached me while I walked my dog, sharing tales of Lisa's petty finds, one for a fence painted the wrong shade of white, another for a pumpkin left too long on a porch. They were weary but wary. Then came the second find. Emily had built a baby snow dragon beside the first a-foot-high figure with button eyes and a candy cane tail. Harmless, yet Lisa photographed it, issuing another notice, this time harsher. Intentional violation, repeated noncompliance, additional enforcement options may apply. Standing on my porch, clutching that paper, I watched Lisa through her window, typing smugly as if she'd just solved a global crisis. That's when I resolved to retaliate not with anger, but with the iciest vengeance she'd ever face. It wouldn't just be art. It would be a monument to her pettiness, her arrogance, her obsession. I turned to Emily and said, "What if we build a statue?" She grinned, intrigued. "Of what?" I smiled back. "Of her." It started as a jest, but it soon became a Miss Iona symbol. If Lisa sought to erase our joy, we'd make it unforgettable. Late-night sketches followed, using her public Facebook photos for reference. I ordered supplies: shovels, support rods, buckets. Emily asked if we'd get in trouble. "Maybe," I said, "but standing up for yourself sometimes means taking a risk. This will be worth it." The cold bit harder the next morning as I stood in the driveway, holding yet another DULOC 200 fine for the baby dragon, labeled repeat offense, decorative obstruction, nonconformity. I folded it away, shielding Emily from the news, and made pancakes instead, keeping her spirits high. But in my mind, I calculated, DULOC 400 in a week steep for a single dad starting over. That afternoon, I decided to confront the HOA directly at their Tuesday meeting. I prepared notes, printed photos of our dragons, and highlighted the HOA manual's vague no explicit ban on snow art existed. Armed with reason, I entered the sterile community center, beige walls, fluorescent lights, about 20 residents sipping coffee. Lisa sat at the front, clipboard like a scepter. I presented my case calmly. The dragons were temporary, non-structural, a family project. I showed neighborly approval in photos. Lisa didn't glance at my wide denke. "The HOA reserves the right to enforce standards as deemed appropriate," she said into her microphone, ending the discussion. When I pressed, she snapped, "Further challenges will be considered harassment." The room stayed silent, eyes averted. Her grip on the community was ironclad until I broke it. The next morning, I found the baby dragon destroyed, trampled overnight, its candy cane tail shattered. Emily cried, and my frustration hardened into resolve. Lisa had crossed a line. If she wanted compliance, she'd get defiance instead. I began gathering materials: shovels, ladders, stakes, scaffolding, and sketching plans. Emily watched, curious but trusting. When a thick, packable snow fell that Thursday, we worked under cover of night, stacking a 5-foot-wide base. Neighbors peeked out, somewhat worrying, as Lisa's gaze undoubtedly burned from across the street. By the third day, the sculpture took shoppy 20-foot Lisa, clipboard in hand, hip-cocked, staring into her office window. Neighbors gathered, whispering, photographing. A viral community post captioned, "Guess who's watching Lisa now?" fueled the buzz. On the fourth day, as dawn broke, I finished her face: scowl, arched brows, stiff bob, perfectly her. Her shriek rang out, followed by furious door slamming. She stormed over, trembling. "This is harassment. Intimidation." I sipped coffee calmly. "It's just snow, temporary, within guidelines." Stunned, she faltered. That evening, HOA members met at her house, emerging after 2 hours. A typed letter followed, requesting a meeting: no fines, just dialogue. A small win. Lisa retreated, blinds shut, as the neighborhood embraced the statue. News cameras arrived. Neighbors petitioned to curb HOA power, and Lisa's empire crumbled. Suspended after a final, baseless notice, she vanished into obscurity. The snow Lisa melted under the sun, but its legacy endured, a neighborhood reborn, free to create, laugh, and live. Emily and I built a joyful dragon next, and snow art bloomed everywhere. The coldest war ended not in fire, but in warmth, proving joy, once unleashed, cannot be silenced.